Hi everyone, my name is Gurpreet Singh-Rai. I'm a Ontario College of Teachers certified educator. I am also a highly educated, outspoken advocate. I am one of the founding members of Teaching Beyond the Surface. I'm also the person behind Keto where I shared like free education resources during COVID with educators on a pay as you can, like a donate as you wish to model. Furthermore, I am the first Canadian mother to ever get a bad faith finding by the PL Children's Aid Society. And this is historically relevant because you never get such a finding until a child dies. I did not know that everything that I have been through in the last couple of years would come to collide in a manner in which I would be targeted by the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, whom I served as a new members committee chair for 5 years. While my children, I started that journey when my boys were 1 and 4. Um, it's ironic because I guess I was too much of an advocate. We won awards for Teaching Beyond the Surface as a founding member. And now I am in court with both the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, with Goldblatt Partners, and the major player in what I have uncovered with the liability insurance pipeline. So what these organizations, sorry, let me go back to who that is. It's Bruce Hutchinson. He is on Bay Street. If you Google him, he is the go-to guy who basically they call when they know they're in trouble. So the manner in which this started was that I have ADHD, so it might be a little bit all over, but if I didn't have receipts, they might have almost succeeded in doing what is terrifying and trying to like form me illegally in a psych ward, in spite of the fact that I have a degree in family and community social services, and I'm also a social service worker in the mental health and addiction sector for 5 years prior to entering the PL board. I worked at Reconnect Mental Health. They're another transfer payment abusive system who targeted me because I took an unpaid leave. And Rochelle Silva has that organization at her hem. And she targeted me and she basically dismissed me when I was just taking some time off. But this is what these monsters do, right? So, anyways, I am now going public because early January, I received an email from my former lawyer, Oyeyinka Oyelowo Otador, who was recommended by someone I thought of in high regard. Having served in the union, like, you hear that like there's people that are there for whatever reasons, but there's a reason that it's just the lifers. Like, people are disconnected from politics, they're disconnected from all of it because people are done with it, right? So someone recommended Yinka Law, who also received an award from the Barbara Schleifer Clinic, who I also went through initially to figure out like how I was going to navigate my separation in November 2024. It turns out Oyeyinka Oyelowo was appointed by Doug Downey, the Minister, Attorney General, whatever the term is. I don't do scripts, I don't do whatever, because I'm just speaking from the heart and from my own lived experience and how I've come out on top and how I will never back down because it's just who I am. I shrunk for far too long and I am done being gaslit. And the bottom line was from day one, I told people the only reason I am fighting this hard is if they have done this to a well-informed advocate and an educator, what are they doing to others? I'm not looking for savior complex, none of it. This terrifies me that like this is what we have been told is okay in Canada as and in Ontario as one of the highest taxed countries and provinces in the country, for a matter of fact, paying 13% to what? Have money embezzled through these transfer. So anyways, I'm just letting you know I am going to be dealing with these monsters head on, because Yinka was basically a plant. And I know it sounds a bit like conspiracy theory, but that's her whole goal, is to dismiss your mental health and state like decorum, to minimize your commitment to the right thing. And I'm done with that, because there's a reason why people are dying every single day. There's a reason people struggle in silence, because as much as we say mental health matters, it's performative BS. And the irony of the name of Teaching Beyond the Surface, which is now owned by True North Media, far right. If you think back to the Ottawa convoy, they were very they're a pretty far right movement. And so now they operate under Juno Media, and they own the website. So that's a whole nother podcast, but I'm just giving you an intro. I'm going public and I'm paying for this podcast because I'm done with them trying to shadow ban me. Yesterday I got a notice from Twitter because these losers are reporting me. By these losers, I mean PDSB, EPFO, I'm guessing the CAS, the courts, whoever is involved in this garbage that I've figured out. And, I'm done with people saying, you need to be careful with the ADHD. I'm done with that. I lost myself for years. You don't tell me how I behave. I will tell you how I'm going to handle the system moving forward. I tried everything legally. I've been at the Human Rights Tribunal for 3 years against EPFO and PETL and TDSB. Not because I'm a vexatious litigant, because I know what the hell's going on. I just couldn't figure out how bad it was until recently. And so I decided that I'm going public, and they are clearly terrified because my analytics prove it. The losers at Full Host Canada advertise themselves as extremely protective. They're stupid. I'm going to say it like it is. I gave them an opportunity of grace, not once but twice, to not align themselves with criminals such as the Peel District School Board, because they are sitting on an illegal stolen surplus of taxpayer funds of $628 million Canadian. And Paul Calandra came to the PDSB to finish what Mike Harris started in 1997, when they basically started selling off the province. Bill 33 is terrifying because they are misusing their power. And people like Doug Ford are actually the reason why they have these like clauses where they can protect the mandate letters and they can do this, that, and the other. And so I'm here to say, hey, let's expose the records you've expunged about stealing from your brother's estate, from his wife, his children. Paul Calandra, who I call DJ Paulie D Thief Calandra. Shout out to Jersey Shore. I have uncovered, and it's there, but it's not there because they use taxpayer records to expunge records, which they also did with Bill Godsky. There's like a whole lot to come, and it's mad juicy, and I'm dropping names. I'm done with the BS. Bill Godsky and Nadia Good, along with Felipe Pereja from the Peel Elementary Teachers Local, who saw Jessica Banish. That's Gail. She gives me the rolling eyes as well. She's sitting at EPFO pretending to be an ally. Jessica Cooper, aka Jessica Whitelaw Cooper, who got used by those that are misusing their power, basically freaked out on me in front of the whole executive shortly after my father died. And I took my voice back because I am not playing those games anymore where you're going to embarrass me. Yes, it was quite dehumanizing. And so that's what led us to the HRTO, because that's kind of how it escalated. The reason they did not like me is it was about 2 elections ago in the Peel Elementary Teachers Local. These are about 7,000 or 8,000 members. I don't care to do like that. It's an estimation because I'm just going with the flow here and being authentic, because I'm not lying, so I don't need to script anything. But they basically, I was a new members committee chair, as I said earlier, and I was there as an executive who was still teaching. And so when we would come there, we'd have like monthly meetings, and it was right after an election, like I think all applicants like deadline was finished. So that meant no one else could submit their name for the elections. So we got there and suddenly BS, because what they do is they know who they're going to pick. I saw it, like at first I was like, oh, this is so cool. You get to have some power. No, you don't. If you're not a yes ma'am or a yes man or a yes whoever, you are a problem. They look for organic leaders. I'm an organic leader, and they are terrified because then they suppress them. They don't really want members to vote. They want the lifers who know no better to just keep coming out, keep supporting their little political allies who are fake as hell, and only know people when it's like election time. And the higher up you go, the more you lose your integrity. There are only a handful of people, and no one is going to gaslight me or my family to suggest that this has anything to do with anything. This is all pre-existing when I was the only one there that you could not tolerate. Anyhow, I asked them, why are we, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Jessica was going to provincial or wherever the hell she was going. And it was actually my last term. So I think that's where it was. Regardless of the fact, one of the, I think the president at the time, yeah, so it was Jessica. She was getting a job at EPFO. And so then suddenly an executive position became available for a release VP. They get like 16,000 extra. It's come to my understanding that they're getting a little bit more now with the cost of living. And, you know, like, so I was at the table and I said, you know, I don't feel comfortable with the fact that like we're not putting this back out to the membership. A lot of people stepped aside because, you know, like they might have wanted their friends to go. And so I stood my ground, but they did not like that. So after that, there was a target on my back because they didn't like the fact that I called them the BS out, and that I was a straight shooter. I've always been a straight shooter. I have nothing to lose except that I'm much more regulated now. I finally got diagnosed with ADHD. It was cost constraints that were preventing me, but also my family doctor didn't follow up on the medical notes from a psychiatrist that I went to go see because I knew for years something was wrong. So I was taking antidepressants. And the reality is that like women are often misdiagnosed. And there's not a lot of medical professionals that care about ADHD. It should be objective, but it is quite subjective. Most industries, unfortunately, are not giving the services that they want, but in any field there's good and bad. So I've had amazing doctors and psychiatrists who've helped me since, but they had a script for a crazy mother. They had a script for an angry mother. They had a script for the old me who cared about what they thought about me. They underestimated me. And if I made history with the Peel Children's Aid Society, what do you think is going to happen next? When I tell you that I am going to represent myself, I don't need gatekeepers on Facebook to come to me like they did yesterday and say, you need a lawyer, you need a lawyer. I don't know. You need to back off. You need to like take some humble pie and you need to do your research. The information I'm sharing is not a delusional like theory. It's out there. Do you think I would be speaking up if I didn't have the receipts? The people at EPFO, like the Jessica Coopers, the Gail Bannister Clarks, the Felipe Pereja, who's like nauseatingly connected to Vikita Bott, who's always a politician. There's also Anjali Ajmera. There's Kelly Martin. I'm sorry, but I have no respect for you because your values don't quite align with what you put out to the membership. I said what I said. You came for me. Nadia Good and Felipe, you had the audacity to be a part of the theft of my 1 terabyte hard drive. I am coming for you and I'm exposing what I know, not because I'm angry, because I'm done waiting. I'm done waiting. I thought, you know, I actually said when you guys at the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario agreed to mediation or whatever else it was, I was like, they're actually smart because they know that like I'm not a person to be messed with. I stand my ground. Felipe, do you remember when I had a demand letter and you said that you would respond by such and such a date or someone would and you didn't? Well, I didn't know that the whole legal attrition thing was all intentional and malicious and nasty. Side note, the most terrifying part when I started this going public journey in January, out of nothing but fear. This isn't about petty. This isn't about a vengeance. I was actually terrified for my goddamn life that they would go to these extents to harm me. And it has only become worse since then. But I've continued to build my confidence and continue to engage. And the public is waking up and they cannot stand it. And so I'm winning. I really don't care. This was never about a lawsuit, but you better believe you will pay. What you have all been complicit in harming my children and God knows how many others, you are evil. You're afraid because your mask has fallen off. My mask is just glowing. My mask, like I've stepped up my self-care routine. I've stepped up. My biggest thing I've stepped up is my self-love. For 42 years, I shrunk myself in spaces that were not meant for me. A toxic marriage, the union, certain school board settings, and now I have the facts, and I cannot wait to have my day in court. So you, Bruce Hutchinson, remember I told your secretary and all the others from Wendy Ma Heflaw who are complicit in the theft of my children's inheritance, my home, that you will never touch Jaspal Jimmy Rai of Century Green 21 Brampton Realty or whatever, with Lakvia Randawa. You guys played with the wrong mother. You really thought you were like good to go. I will see to it that you never hurt my children again, and you will never touch that property. Jimmy, we already know you're stealing from your brother. Stay away from my kids' inheritance, which is this house. I have worked far too hard, and I trusted you monsters. And all the cards are falling into place. You really underestimated me, just like these guys did. So I'll see you all in court soon. There's no more privacy. Everything's out on the table. The lengths that everyone went to destroy my children, who are actually thriving thanks to me and my commitment to making sure that these generational trauma bonds break, and so that no goddamn family ever has to do it again. As difficult as the last 11 years, almost 12 of my life have been, every goddamn moment of absence from my children, every goddamn moment I shrunk myself to accept less than I deserved, every time I lost myself just to be a part of spaces that just did not feel right. Straight up, I say the union felt like a cult. It is a cult, because guess what? They're investing your money into the liability insurance pipeline. They're behind the scenes with the school boards screwing you over. They're investing 5% of your teacher dues into the very same liability insurance pipeline. So I worked at Edenbrook Hill, and the Human Rights Office watered the hell down out of my thing. I knew the school was nasty because there's a lot of racist women there that are entitled, and they're like the lifers. So at certain schools, you see women that have been there for like far too long. And so I documented the hell out of things, because with ADHD, if I don't document it, it won't happen. But I also think back to when I went to University of Guelph Humber, Dr. Dan Andrie, a political professor of mine, was like blown away by the fact that like my notes were like a live play by play of what the lecture was saying. And I said, I need details. And so the way that I document is meticulously detailed. And that is why you will never explain my emotions away. You will never tone police me. And you will never misuse taxpayer funds again. I cannot wait to give you a taste of your nasty medicine that you have done to countless others. You nasty thieves, stealing condos downtown under Cadillac Fairview, the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. Teachers, wake up. The reason your pension plan is so good, the surplus, comes from making sure most of us do not get to our pension. We are a liability. The older you are, the more paid you are. They don't want that. And then when you are like an advocate like me and others who call the BS out, you're like, you guts to go for them. So here we are, invested in Bremner. They have suites that are cordoned off, and they rent all these like stolen properties. I call it what it is. That's theft, which only the 1%. Technically, I think we all deserve a day or 10 there. But given how many people have been stolen from, I don't think our turns will ever come. But what I do know, I will see to it personally. I knew no one would invest in like liability insurance without something in it for them financially. I will see to it that the stolen units at Bremner, where True North Media, who is suddenly hosting Teaching Beyond the Surface.ca, sits, the far right folks in Canada who are now Juno Media. And then we have the ICE condos downtown. And then we have Maple Leaf Square. So this is High Rock, OSBIE. I'm going to get all the abbreviations right. That I'm going to have to write down. But y'all are caught and y'all are terrified because you cannot do legal attrition against someone who knows what they were put through, against someone who could not figure out what the hell was going on. Like, how are we not protecting kids? How are we not like telling these racist Lisas to back off and like not be so entitled? But, you know, I uncovered in the last few weeks, and I would have never uncovered this, dummies. You did this to yourselves and you did this to all of us. So this is now the great comeback. Wendy Messier is a mother from Orangeville who's a principal at Edenbrook Hill. She started off as an acting VP and she's fake as hell. She mentioned at one point her husband John was like an insurance brokerage owner. I knew she was like kind of like, you know, and I had heard from someone in the FO union as well that she's an Orangeville elitist with a narrow mind. I'm saying that on record because now I know why. Anyways, I knew she was a bit bougie-ish, but I didn't know she was like bougie on our dime. Turns out her husband, John Messier, is a 4-star insurance person who is the top producing platinum agent for our very own Intact Assurance, which is the liability pipeline. They are connected to Crawford & Co. And then there's economical insurance. There's all of these things. It's all coming with visuals and diagrams because it's confusing hearing it all. Imagine living it and refusing to break. I am so goddamn proud of myself. This is for every single person who monsters like this have destroyed, every family they have torn apart, every mother or father or anyone that has died because of bastards who think that they're better than others. You have the audacity to judge people stuck in poverty. No one picks where they're born. What we do think, like, what really infuriates me is you stole people's childhoods. You stole what was supposed to be the great equalizer. We used to go around the world and be like, oh, we have free healthcare. We have hospitals. We have this. No. Since 1997, you monsters have stolen people's futures. You have stolen their childhoods. You have destroyed parents to the point where like they have to work 2-3 jobs. All because of what? Like for access to stolen land on top of being colonizers for years? You think you're going to get away with it? I'm done. This is not about me. I know who I am. You're the ones that are terrified because batter up. I'm coming for the top because I will never let the frontline staff fall. I don't care what you did. I found out some of the educators I was working with are fake as hell. And I'm okay because you no longer have access to my life. And to know that people that I knew my whole life are going to sit there and talk about me, that's cool because I know who I am. And I really don't care. I don't think you guys understand that. But what I am not going to do is engage in this fake, toxic, dude, I'm turning 44. How are you so miserable after a certain age to be gossiping? Get a life, have a family unit outside of school. If you need to talk about others who are fighting the bigger fight so that we have better working conditions, I'll be the bee in your story because I'm petty as hell at this point, not out of any reason, but except for the fact that I had to go public because I was terrified. I just couldn't figure it out. And I figured it out. It's the transfer payment scam. Hospitals are sitting on stolen money. They have a nasty surplus. And then you have loser gatekeepers like some French educator who never really gave me the right vibes in the Pdsb educators group, who was administering a post that went like really, really viral because teachers are supposed to be educated. And I thought, okay, this is a safe space. But I hesitated because I know there's like the Felipes in there, the Vaquitas. I used to message myself, and there's union members in there. But I have a problem when I ask that same gatekeeper why they took my post down, and they say, oh, multiple people reported it. I'm like, okay, so did you look at whether or not there was bias to it, Miss TA, French educator? You know who you are, and it's nasty. And then she has the audacity to try to gaslight me and say, I will not be engaging further in this. I said, I'm sorry, before I get there, I said, did you look to see who was reporting it? I said, were they affiliated with the union that I've uncovered is misappropriating funds and is in bed with our employer, essentially, who screws their own employees? So we get screwed over twice if you're a union person. So the cult, I call it a cult, is not necessary. Y'all got to go, and I'm going to expose the hell out of it. But if you think you're going to insult my intelligence and then suggest that TA is dealing with a death in the family, and I'm not going to engage in a dialogue back because I haven't been through this in multiple systems, and you think you're going to say you're dealing with a death in the family, I'm going to send you my condolences, but I'm going to tell you it's giving hella biased and hella gatekeeper. And I know you're like one of the little puppets of the union. And so I don't care if you remove me from that group, because there's a reason I've been going online without those groups, because I know they're biased. I know they're full of gatekeepers. I know they're full of garbage and oppression that many are not used to having like questioned, right? Because for years, so many in these systems have benefited from these systems of oppression. And when we have colored people that are selling themselves out, that's a lateral violence. It does nothing but uphold systemic oppression and colonialism and all the garbage. So when I see a colored person trying to come for me, I have a bigger problem with that, because you're a sellout, but some people can be bought. I cannot be bought, and I will never back down. Let's also talk about GTA school councils. These losers who claim to care about the public are literally other gatekeepers. Yesterday I posted stuff, and it went viral. Like, if you look at my stats on Facebook, you'll see why. So as much as they're trying to like mark my profile at risk, it's working. Public is waking up and they're terrified, right? But the losers who have sold their lives and their souls out are terrified, because guess what? You had a facade to maintain, right? I do not. So GTA school councils are a bunch of gatekeepers. One of the moderators is like a media company person, so I'm guessing they're bought in the system. They had the audacity to tell me that I should start my own group, and how they didn't understand how it's linked to school councils. And I told them I have children in the TDSB. I said, this is all linked to school councils. School councils should not be supporting their own neighborhoods. The government gives you money. I go, but they're embezzling it. And oh my God, suddenly, like, she didn't like it. And she's like, I'm not engaging further in this dialogue either. Kind of like TA in the group of Pdsb educators. And so I said, I'm not engaging any further either. I said, because I said to the one in the Pdsb educators group, the really ignorant, performative person with the initials T and A, she says to me, I said to her and to this person, I said, I'm not going to engage in the narrative of harassment that you're trying to paint here. I said, do what you got to do. I said, it's telling that you're all bought and that you're nothing but gatekeepers pretending to care about the public, but clearly benefiting behind the scenes. Wake up, y'all, because I am just getting started. And this is like so much tea. Or as Gopi Aunty says, cha pilo, drink some tea, bro. And our cha is pretty damn yummy. Anyways, I'm taking my space back up, and I have so much to share. This is just going to get like so juicy. But it's not out of pettiness. It's about how dare you take advantage of my kindness and my vulnerability in safe spaces, and you have the audacity to come at me when I was paying a 9.95% mortgage, which I still am, because my ex and his family thought I was that stupid. Like, it's a compliment, but it's like, it's not, because with the Pdsb, I know you actually know how screwed you are. I caught the PLCAS. You're easy breezy, beautiful fake girls, all right? And men, whatever. Yes, whatever. Everyone in the fraud system you're done. If I expose the fraud at my own school where Wendy Messier was always saying, "Oh, this is the liability." I now look at it and I'm like, this is just a petty little jab. I'm like, was she turned on by it or was she like terrified? She's like, "Oh my God, babe, my bae, John Messier of 4 Star Insurance, is gonna get paid double dip in. Oh my God. Follow the money, y'all." And that's one school in all of Canada. These systems that have been happening since 1997 have been the reason why our mental health endemic and the domestic violence endemic, this is literally coercive control. And that's the site that they've been messing around with. This is the epitome of control. Abuse, power, control, gaslighting, stonewalling. It's all coming out. And your girl does not care who doesn't like her. I have never been more at peace sitting in my house. And if you don't like me, that's completely okay, because I probably won't like you because you're likely a part of the performative, inauthentic souls that are out there. And I will never engage in that again. So have a fantastic day. And yeah, like I'll see y'all later. I cannot wait to give you more dirt. And again, it's not dirt. Actually, it's our rights as Canadian taxpayers. So holla.